First thing I would say is definitely emotional driven plot, like storyline. So it's not really logic driven. Like, okay, there's a crime we need to solve, and we have this evidence, we have this clue, and we work together to solve a crime. That is something works really really well on TV, but not necessarily in vertical. In vertical, things are emotional uh driven, like as in, um you make me feel sad, you make me feel betrayed, you make me feel over the top, you make me feel overwhelmed, and what I'm going to do next, how am I going to react to that emotion, and I react to emotion by emotions. That's the thing that apparently they according to the data, that what the viewer reacts to.
Hmm.
So um that's also why you sometimes see a lot of characters in vertical, they just say the things out loud, or they just don't say whatever needs to be said out loud.
Hmm.
Because we want to trigger that sort of emotion out of the character to give the viewer that sort of dopamine hit and instant satisfaction. So that's what from the story wise, it doesn't, from how I see it, it can be, a period drama, it can be a rom-com, it can be sci-fi, it can be horror. It doesn't really matter the genre, but you have to make sure your characters and your story are emotional driven. So that's the script wise. And the other thing I see as super important is the dynamic between the actors, especially if you're doing something like a um romance. Um, I think, of course, the actor have to, most of the time, have to be traditionally attractive. However, when the actors when they're playing the character and they have that sort of like unbeatable chemistry with each other, viewer can definitely sense it. The viewer can definitely see it.
Hmm.
Even like the eyes, they can just tell.
Yeah.
And that I felt like that's what really drawn the viewers into um the show. And the other thing I would say is, visually, you kind of, even though as a producer, I know the struggle that we face when we are working with very limited budget, but visually, you also have to make it as interesting as possible,
Hmm.
based
Definitely.
on the budget you're working with. Um, you know, it just, again, you're working with a really small frame, and you want to make it as interesting as possible to be able to catch people's attention, and also make sure, especially for the episodes that are before the paywall, you want to spend a lot of time and effort and money into it. You want
Hmm.
to showcase, dedicate to the first couple episodes to make people know that, hey, you know what, I will pay to unlock the rest, because but I already can tell this is something that really interesting, and I really really want to follow to see the rest.
Yeah. Totally. I think with the way it looks, that's something that I remember stepping into it for the first time over 2 years ago. I think that was the thing that probably took away the most. Was like, wow, then that they're not pulling any, they're not pulling any punches when it comes to like the look of it. Like the shots, just some of the shots is incredible. And you can tell with the kit that you're using, a lot of money is clearly being invested into, of course, the kit and the camera team, as it should, because you want it to look a certain way. Because there is a lot of emphasis, of course, on the look, because you're packaging it up and you're selling, the look. So I could totally see that. I mean, I ended up for the second vertical I did, I ended up just being so impressed with like how the shots were looking. I ended up asking pretty much the whole camera team if they wanted to work on my short film that I was doing right afterwards, and they, yeah, and they came on board. I took the DP, and then the camera team were kind of his camera team, from Manchester, and then ended up sort of like being able to take everyone for my own projects, because they did such a great job and also did an amazing job on my own project.